Hello, hello, hello to all our educator friends out there. What is up? This is your favorite guests, Kyle Howard and Corey Camp here, joining you again on a What's Up Wednesday show. We're stepping into May. We're stepping into May, Corey.
I just told you right before the show, I'm not ready for this. I'm just not ready. Although Cinco de Mayo, I can always celebrate that.
Cinco de Mayo. We have a lot of things going on this first week of May. Cinco, Teacher Appreciation Week. Do
you think those coincide pretty closely together for a reason? I'm just saying.
Maybe. And then also we have Mother's Day coming up as well.
You're going to see your mother for Mother's Day. Going to see mom and grandma and you're hitting the road soon. So
I mean, it seems like to be light at the end of the tunnel, so starting to kind of, show a little bit of glimmers of light. So things are starting to open up a little bit more. So going to see family. But I know we were just having a great conversation backstage about all the events, kind of everything is kind of blurring together. Corey, what do you have going on?
Well, we recently had a birthday, my middle one. That's what these llamas are in the background. I'm just keeping them up for just a little bit longer. I was going to take them down just before we went live, but my daughter was like, but no, those are my favorite. So they're going to have to get moved to her room though. But we've got baseball in full swing. The camp kids have adopted 8 new chicks. So that's been a whole life experience this past week. It's been a little bit of a rough week. We've lost a couple chicks and have replaced them. And so anyway, but other than that, I'm wrapping up our cohorts, our coaching cohorts. We'll have some folks on in the next few weeks to talk a little bit about what that experience has been like, but it's been one of my most favorite things I've done this year, in addition to the typical support that I do for our customers and the coaching that I've always done, getting to lead and facilitate cohorts of coaches and instructional leaders has filled my cup this year for sure, especially when I really needed that the most, I think. So just wrapping those things up, just 3 more weeks of school left for many of our folks, my kids included. Kindergarten graduation's coming up for my youngest. So life is in hyperdrive, I feel like right now. So like you said, stepping into May.
I know, right? I wish we can put things, life on demand sometimes. But speaking of demand, we do have a webinar that we just released here this past week with Unstuck here, Brian Goodwin. So we do have that on our Sibme Learning Center as well. So if you can always go back and view that at our Sibme Learning Center as well. We do have our Better Together conference coming up. Please register, totally free within Sibme, June 21st to the 22nd. So we always want to put that plug in there. So make sure you tell your folks, tell your friends, please save the date. But I mean, today we have an awesome show. I'm really excited about our special guest today out of Lamar Consolidated ISD, which is outside of Houston, Texas. A very, very A personality, principal, or first years within the leadership. I don't know, without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring on Toshila Darjean out of Navarro Middle School.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here this morning.
Thank you. We are so excited to have you here as our special guest today. We wanted to have you on for one as a new leader, but also talk about bridging the gap coming from this year to from this crazy year of COVID and adjusting to that, but really a journey within introduction into the Sibme platform, but also of uses now. So I wanted to, open the floor into you as far as Principal Darjean. How were you introduced to Sibme? Tell us about your introduction.
Okay, so I was introduced to Sibme when I was an AP. I would always think as an AP, what did I want to do when I became a principal, when I got my own building? And so one of the things I would do you guys would have webinars that I would attend. And her last name is Gory. I can't remember her first name, and I think she's out of Spring or Cyfair somewhere. And
Dr.
she would,
Tanya Gory, yeah.
yes. And so she would do these amazing webinars and talked about, you know, just the growth that she saw on her campus utilizing Sibme. And so by chance, my old district where I was a teacher in Pasadena, they were a big proponent of Sibme as well. And so I reached out to Miss Diana Gomez, who's over there, new teacher leadership, new teacher program. And so I reached out to her, and we spent maybe an hour and a half on the phone just talking about Sibme. And so this was my true introduction to it. I needed to converse with somebody who used it firsthand. And then she linked me up with, he was the former teacher in Pasadena, and he now works for Sibme. I can't think of his name. What's TJ Hoffman. And so it was just a process, but the entire time of going through the webinar, speaking with Ms. Gomez, speaking with TJ, just was, what is it? How did I want to utilize Sibme for our campus? Because I knew it was powerful, but I'm a strong believer, regardless of the position that you're currently in, if you're looking to go somewhere else, move up in the position, you begin to think of what it's going to be like in the position. And so that's what I started to do as an AP. And this was one of the things I knew wherever I went, whether it was Navarro, wherever it was going to be, I knew Sibme had to be a part of that process.
I love that. What a small world, right? What a connected circle that you have. And one of our favorite things here is to kind of foster those connections and that sense of community, as many of us are educators, are really closely tied to education here at Sibme. So I love that. I love hearing that you kind of had found lots of inspiration, especially Dr. Tanya Gory. She is a very inspiring leader and has done some amazing things in her different roles and her use of Sibme. So thinking about Navarro Middle School, where you are now, why did you feel like Sibme was a good fit for that? Like, I know you'd been kind of thinking about those things that you wanted to do, but we also have to think about the culture of the building where we are implementing some changes and growth. And so tell us a little bit about how you felt Sibme was a good fit for your middle school.
So I felt Sibme was a good fit for Navarro because coming in, I knew we had some growth to do. And so I knew we have some amazing teachers on campus. But with anything, there's opportunity to grow. And so one of the things, a lot of the times as an administrator, you can go in and you put in your T-test observation or your walkthrough, and it's not the real life or just the right here and now feedback that individuals need and they thrive on. And so this provided our teachers an opportunity to get that genuine, authentic feedback, not only in reflection, because if you're not, you have to be able to be reflective in your practice. And so the goal was, and the big picture is, as an instructor, always being reflective in your practice and figuring out where it is you need that growth, and continuously going back and monitoring, doing your progress checks of where am I? And so it was that, just empowering teachers with that reflection piece for them to be able to feel like, I am this amazing instructor. And then how am I going to get there? And so that's why I felt it was a good fit for Navarro. It was just making sure our teachers realize the self-actualization of their craft. And so this is why I felt it was a good fit for Navarro.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a very powerful statement, and especially, like I said, this is your first year at Navarro and coming in, and I want to maybe kind of throw you a wild card. I want to just kind of talk about how did you introduce Sibme into your campus to that as well, with your teachers, with your instructional team?
Okay, because this is my very first year at Navarro. And so coming in as a new principal, you don't want to make all these changes. You want to go slow to go fast. And so that was kind of the process of this. And so I remember reaching out to you, Kyle, in the very first semester, and us kind of working through and talking through some things, and just kind of figuring out what was going to be the most appropriate approach for our staff. And so I didn't want to just like, hey, this is what we're doing, go and do this. And I knew I couldn't do that as a first year principal on the campus. And so one of the things that we did was I reached out to another principal in a neighboring district who utilizes Sibme as well. And so we kind of talked through the process. And so didn't want it to, when we rolled it out, teachers to feel like it was evaluative. And so didn't want them to feel like, oh, I have this new principal that's coming in, gotcha. And so the way we rolled it out was a very slow, just a scaffold of steps that we did. And so got everybody signed up for Sibme, got them to record their first video, for them to go look at themselves. But then I didn't participate in any of it. They set up a huddle. I had my instructor, our facilitators go in and create the huddles with the teachers. And so once they start doing that, then they start setting up action plans. And so it was, we'll record our first video, upload your first video, then they got a reflection document that they utilize. So they watched themselves first, the coach watched, and they got together, and then they calibrated. And so they calibrated to see where was the focus, where was it that that teacher needed to grow in that particular area. And so it wasn't, I see that you need to do this. It was, as a teacher, I see that I need to grow in this area as a practitioner. And so they started working through that process. They set up an action plan, and then it was, okay, in 2 more weeks, have another video where we're just focusing on this. And then they met again. And so it was just a process of them working through that coaching piece with the facilitators. So they felt comfortable, but they also saw the growth within themselves. Didn't want to give them too many things to focus on. Just focus on one thing that you've identified and where you need the most growth. And that's what our teachers did. And so I think that worked really, really well for them, because it kept me out of it. And where it wasn't to be, I have this new principal coming in and she's trying to get me. It wasn't that. It was just, I want you guys to grow, but I also want, part of that growth, again, is that self-reflection. And so that's where we want to go with that process. And so I think it's been really, really good for them. We've also had in my last faculty meeting, I had a teacher come on and kind of do a testimonial about how Sibme has impacted her through the process, because not all the videos go to the huddle. We have a lot of teachers that are putting their videos in and they're just going and watching themselves in practice. And so that was the hope of that, for them to be able just to see themselves and grow as a practitioner. It's that our craft as an educator is one of the most important things that we will ever have. And it's the most important thing and the most important career that's out there. And so if we're not growing consistently in our craft, we're staying stagnant. Our kids are staying stagnant. And so this was the piece I felt that we were missing. And so that's where we start bridging that gap on our campus.
I love that. I love the focus that you put on the teacher ownership and the reflection. And what you really described is a true model of coaching. It's not asking a facilitator or a coach to come in and watch a teacher and then say, here's what I think you should do. That's more mentoring. That's more consultation. This is really about the teachers on your campus examining themselves and their learners, using video to do that, to slow down and rewind time and be able to focus on that. And then the other thing that I think is really key in what you shared, whether folks start in a very kind of grassroots, bottom up approach, like what you have for your teachers to really take ownership, or if they are doing more of a, we're going to use this when we come and observe you, that way you can look at the video beforehand, is that that focus on zooming in on a specific element of teaching or learning. It makes the process manageable. It really helps us reach that kind of that North Star of job embedded professional learning. The thing that we know works best in professional learning is when it is timely and relevant and job embedded, and it supports change because there are clear then action steps. You've got all of those things tied into the strategy that you use to implement this, and to do that on your first year and have folks standing up in faculty meetings and using those testimonials and driving their own professional learning. I think that's so powerful. And so you mentioned bridging the gap, like that you're bridging the gap. Can you explain that a little bit more for us? And how has the role of Sibme and those huddles and the ability to reflect helped bridge that gap on your campus?
So for me, just listening to you right now, it made me think of, even when our kids, we're looking for mastery. And so just as in Sibme, when our teachers are identifying that one area of focus and continuously going back to that and observing that, it's how are we getting to mastery? And then how long is it taking us to get to mastery for that particular area? And so that's where, for me, that's where that gap is being bridged. Everybody has their own need, just as each kid in the classroom has their own particular need. Each one of our teachers has their own particular need. And so it's identifying what that particular need is and then working through to mastery of that. And so it's building in those checkpoints, identifying, okay, I rated myself at a 3 right now. Well, then we come back, now I'm at a 5 or a 6. And then now either you stayed the same, you grew, and some people may have regressed, but it's identifying where you are in that stage of mastery, and then how can we continue to move towards fulfilling that mastery and truly, okay, I've mastered this. What do I now need to work on? You don't want to overwhelm anybody. You want to bridge that gap to where this is your essential standard that you're working on. Just how we do with your TEKS. This is the standard that we're working on. You are now at a place where if you looked at standards-based grading, you've now mastered this. Now let's move on. What's the next essential skill that you now need to focus on? And that's what we're doing. So for me, that's bridging the gap. It's essentially looking at not only our students in that way, but our teachers. Again, we can't give everybody the same thing because we're all at so many different levels and we all have so many different needs. And so it's our job as the leader, as the facilitators, to recognize, but also as the teacher to take ownership of, this is where my area of need is, and these are my steps to work towards mastery of that particular skill.
That's an awesome answer, especially that point that you made of, not wanting us to stay stagnant in a position or in a place. We have to put ourselves sometimes in a growing position, and putting ourselves in that growing position sometimes feels uncomfortable at first, but once you really see it go and take off, like you said, go slow to go fast, and the results. We just had the conversation not too long ago of your data, and it's some great stuff to look at, some engagement, and we are really excited about what can happen going on to next year. So that I want to ask, what's next at Navarro? We can expect going into the next upcoming year.
So for us, so when I came in, I've got to tell you the backstory on this. So when I came in to Navarro, my first faculty meeting, before that, I met with each one of my staff members prior to, and of course we were during the pandemic, so it was all on Zoom. So I met with each person on Zoom, talked to each person, and just kind of figured out what their need was, what their observation was for of the campus. So my first faculty meeting, I came in and my whole spiel was, I'm not, according to statistics, I'm not supposed to be here. And so both of my parents only have a high school diploma. And so if you look at statistics, I'm not supposed to be here because statistics always go to where your parents are from, your generation, and so on. And so that was part of my first faculty meeting. And so what I told them, my goal and my vision was during that faculty meeting, I rolled out the Ranger mentality. We're the Rangers here. And so I'm a basketball fanatic. And so right before I got this job, I read Mamba Mentality, Kobe. And so my whole first faculty meeting was a PD around Mamba mentality, but the Ranger mentality. And to sum it up, my vision of the campus is for us to be a model campus. And so for us to continue to work toward that. So every single week I bring up, we're working toward this, but how are we going to get there? And to get there, Sibme is part of getting there because we will get there. I don't know what time we're going to get there, but we will get there. But in order for us to get there, it is having that reflection piece. It is us taking ownership because we can point the finger at this person, that person, this person, but ultimately we have to also make sure we're looking in the mirror and saying, how can I make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to make sure our kids are successful on campus? And that's where Sibme comes in. It's our teachers truly looking at their practice and truly growing in their practice. So we rolled it out with the facilitators this year. Next year, we're going to roll it out with our teachers also looking at each other and providing feedback and peer-to-peer coaching with each other. And so I think it's just figuring out what's going to be best for our campus to make sure our teachers are continuously growing within their practice, within their craft. And so Sibme's coming along with us. So when we get it, I'm gonna shout you guys out. But it's just recognizing that, it takes a team, it takes a village. And so this is part of our village, that self-reflection, that coaching piece. So we're gonna bring it along with us for next year.
I love the fact that you brought up that Mamba mentality and the fact that, everyone knows that Kobe, the great, 81 points are on the court. But the time that he spent putting in on the practice that you didn't see, right? So that's how we're trying to relate that into our teachers, to our campuses. That's the work that you put in within house that not everyone gets to see, that you can self-reflect, that you can share, build as a team. But then obviously we're headed to the top. We have a goal, and how do we get there? And Sibme can be that tool. So I'm glad about that mentality. I'm all about that. So
I'm muted.
You're unmuted now. Yep.
Okay, so it's like watching your game tape. If you read it, if you're an athlete, you always go back and you watch your game tape. Your film. What did I work on? What were my weaknesses? Where was I good? Where was I bad? And this is where I need to work on. So essentially, Sibme is your game film. It's you looking at yourself in the game. How did you perform in the game? What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? And what do you now need to continue to work on? And so that's what it is. And I'm super glad to have this as a tool for us to utilize on our campus, for our teachers just to continue to grow in their practice, but also for us, for them to recognize that it's their growth transcends into the growth of our students. And that's the biggest.
I was just thinking the same thing.
And so it's just, we having to recognize that our overall objective is for the growth of our kids. And so we have to make sure that we're growing in our practice so that our kids can grow with us every single year and every single day.
Yeah. And what the research says is that reflective culture that you're building in your teachers will transcend into your students, that students who see their teachers reflecting and making changes based off of what they see in those reflections. In my classroom, it was, I'm recording because, and then I would say, you know, hey, I was watching back some video from one of last week's lessons and I noticed this. So today we're going to do more of that or less of that, or I'm trying something different. That transcends into students then engaging in very similar reflective, you know, behaviors. And we know that that is, it's one of my colleagues said, you know, it's the 4 C's plus 1 R. If reflection is not connecting those 4 C's together, if we don't have students thinking about their own learning and actions as a result of the information coming to them, whether that's reinforcing or it's new information, then there is no learning. There is going to be no generalization of those skills and that knowledge into other settings, which is what we need. That's what we do as we build and build and build. So especially at that middle school level. So I love that. Well, it's been so great talking to you this morning. We really are thankful for all of the praise that you offer to our organization and all of your dedication that you offer to your teachers first and foremost, because that's our mission here at Sibme, is to change the way people learn at work. And by people, we mean teachers. And we do that because it is about our students. Until we change the learning for teachers, we can't change the learning for our students. So thank you so much for all of your hard work and all the mission-driven behaviors that you're taking on your campus as a new principal. I think it's going to be really exciting to continue to watch.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, in closing, I want to leave the floor open to you, Principal Darjean, for your last, I'm trying to start something new here for a last final quote, the last final word of the day for you before we close out here and go to our closeout wrap-up screen.
Hey, so every day I end with a mantra that I tell my students. And so I end with, you are somebody. And today I will grow by challenging myself to be the best I can be. Today I will work harder than yesterday because there isn't anything more important than now. And today I will lift others up through positivity because you are somebody. So as always, exemplify your Ranger mentality everywhere you go and with every interaction you have. So as I send you on your way to be transformed by your amazing instructors, make sure you soak up as much knowledge as you can and ask any questions if you do not understand. Don't ever leave a room without understanding what just took place. Have a great day, Rangers. Be great in everything you do.
I love it. So inspiring. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back again, I'm sure, next year as things get going.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that was just so inspiring. And to be a first year principal on the campus, brand new campus for the first year, the amount of momentum that she's gained in implementing some of those. I mean, let's just be completely honest. Well, we know here at Sibme that video is one of the most powerful tools for reflection, but we are not at all shy about saying it is one of the most uncomfortable tools for reflection because we do it here ourselves. Many of us came to Sibme because of the use of video for reflection and professional growth. And many of us all of us at Sibme engage in that level of reflection. So it is her teachers, big shout out to them because that is no easy task, being vulnerable at those levels and having those conversations with their facilitators, but they're doing it because as she mentioned, it's the most important job in the world. So with that, Kyle, I know you got a big shout out for this week for all of us, from all of us here at Sibme, to everybody.
Yes, to everyone, all our teachers out there. Big shout out to y'all. It's been a very challenging year. And throughout those hurdles, y'all continue to overcome. And, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So we want to thank y'all because without the teachers driving it, I mean, what can we say? I mean, they're really the ones really driving the force. So we want to be thankful for y'all and congratulate y'all on that. And also, I want to say shout out to all the mothers out there. Mother's Day weekend is upon us. So I want to give a shout out to all the mothers out there. Everyone loves our mama. I love mine. all the all the moms out there. But then also it's another celebration, Cinco de Mayo. So you know, as Corey is saying, Cinco de Mayo and Teacher Appreciation Weekend, it must have been linked together for a reason. So
maybe, just maybe. I know I always saw a strong correspondence when I was a teacher in the classroom. Yes, thank you to all of our amazing teachers who have gone above and beyond the past over 12 months for all that you've done. As a mom of 3 kids, I'm going to try not to get emotional. I'm so thankful for all that our educators do and our moms. Hug your moms, y'all. Thanks again for joining us. Tune in. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe to our social media channel that you prefer to check out our show on, whether you can join us live for these shows or tune in later on. You always will get notifications whenever we go live or post a new episode. And we are so thankful for every one of you and all that you do to support education and those that are around you. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.